Hello students, I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to another video from QuickStudy, and this video covers business and globalization from topic 2.1, growing the business. And in this video we are going to talk about the impact of globalization on businesses, and that includes your imports, your exports, as well as the changing business locations. Moreover, we're also going to talk about the barriers to international trade, which includes tariffs and trade blocks. And furthermore, we are going to discuss on how businesses compete internationally by the use of internet and e-commerce, as well as changing the marketing mix to compete internationally. All right, now to start it off with, we need to understand what globalization really is. Globalization is basically the increasing interconnectedness between economies through trade, investment, and cultural exchange. And this has significantly changed the business landscape and creates opportunities for multinational and international companies. Now, you need to understand that the national income from exports and imports have significantly increased over the last 50 years. And as a result of this, what happened was the competition in the market actually grew, which led to less market domination by large companies. And at the same time, because of globalization, product quality and innovation has also improved, which means that customers can now enjoy better quality products and get better value for their money, which actually increases their living standards too. But of course, there are implications to this, and we are going to get to that shortly. Before, let's just discuss a case study. So, in the 1960s, the Beatles used to record music in multiple languages so that they could cater to the needs of the local markets. But today, that's not really the case. An English song is not translated into a different language because English in itself is a global language, and more people today know English, right? So today musicians do not really have to record music in different languages. And the impact of globalization, of course, there are significant economic impacts that comes along with it. The first one, or the positive impact that people enjoy due to globalization, is since there is more trade and investment, it creates more opportunity and there's greater product variety, and at the same time the quality has improved, which also has the potential to expand the market. But there are negative or downsides to increased globalization too, because domestic businesses or infant industries might not be able to survive with these large corporations with a lot of resources. And this can lead to a lot of job losses. And then there are societal concerns that you need to consider as well, because there are people who might be worried about the immigration processes and increased job competition, but it can be an opportunity for someone who thinks that they have the necessary skills and the opportunities that are needed to succeed globally. All right, now let's look at how imports will affect businesses due to globalization. So, what are imports really? Imports are when you purchase goods and services from another country. And broadly, there are three types of imports really. The first one being for essential goods. So these are goods that cannot be produced in a particular country, probably due to weather conditions. For example, olive oil cannot be produced in the UK due to weather limitations, right? And then we've got labor intensive goods. So labor intensive goods refers to products that require a lot more labor as opposed to capital or machinery. So if you are producing a product that requires a lot of labor, it's much wiser to do it in a country where labor costs are significantly lower. For example, clothes or garments products are manufactured in Bangladesh, where the labor wages are significantly lower when compared to the UK. Then, of course, we've got high tech and skill goods. So, products that are made in the UK and other technologically advanced countries like France or probably Germany has the right people, the right skill set, as well as the capital and the machinery that is required to produce these high technology or high skill goods and services. For example, a significant majority of the cars that are sold in the UK are actually imported. But at the same time, there are other UK producers like Jaguar Land Rover or Nissan who produces car in the UK and then exports it to other countries. So when you're talking about imports, it's important for you to consider about the competition that you will face from overseas countries or companies. Let's take the British car industry as an example. So the British car industry faces significant competition from countries like Germany, who produces cars like Audi, Volkswagen, Mercedes, and BMW. And So what are the key factors that has contributed to the success of these companies? The first one being that they invest a lot of money and resources into research and development. And what this helps them do is basically continuously come up with product designs that are innovative and provide value for the money that consumers are paying. And at the same time, many customers actually have strong aspirations because there are many British families who would rather want to drive a Mercedes or an Audi. And you need to realize that it's not that wage rates are low in Germany. They are quite high. However, provided that the amount of value that they're creating and the innovation that they're doing, it helps them establish a competitive advantage. And they have this competitive edge over other rivals, which is actually what helps them stand out. And you need to consider other markets too, because it's not just the car industry that is subject to competition from overseas markets. Other industries might include gaming consoles or probably washing machines, where we are buying products from other foreign countries or companies. So why does a country really import goods and services? It's because there is a demand. Because consumers actually prefer the quality and the innovation that foreign companies have to offer over domestic companies. All right, now you also have to consider that people are going to buy from overseas, and it's just not just limited to people. Because when people are purchasing consumer goods like the ones that we use in our daily lives, you're probably getting something for your own hobbies or for your pet supply. You go onto Amazon and you order a particular product, it's much more likely to be a Chinese company that is offering a lower price in comparison to a British company, given the nature of the job market and the economy and whatnot. And then you've got production supplies. This is when companies will order raw materials for their production requirements. And take the automobile industry, for example. So there's a high dependency for imports because over 50% of the components that are used in a British made car is actually imported. And it's not like car manufacturers have a choice. Say, for example, Jaguar Land Rover actually wants or would prefer to source a lot of the raw materials that they need for their car production from the UK. But it's just that there's not enough sufficient car components production facilities in the UK to begin with, so they do not really have a lot of options. All right, now let's look at how exports impact business activities. So what are exports really? Exports are when you are selling your products or services to other foreign countries, and exports actually helps bring in a lot of the cash that can be used to recover the costs associated with imports. And you need to understand that exports actually make significant contributions to the economy. In the case of UK, for example, manufacturing only accounts for 5% of the UK economy, but in total, they account for 50% of all the exports that are made by UK, whereas the rest of the 50% of exports from UK is from the service sector. Service sector includes industries like insurance, banking, music, creative arts, and so on. So what are the success factors, or what are the key contributors to the success of these exporters? First of all, they need to do cost management. Cost management would involve keeping costs as low as possible so that they can price their products or services in the international market that can help them stay competitive. Then at the same time, they also have to ensure that quality products are produced, so that products are original, well made, and they are well designed. And at the same time, exporters need to consider the importance of reliability too, because whatever products that they're making needs to be delivered on time, and they have to provide excellent service, and that may include after sales service as well. All right, now let's look at how changing business location impacts businesses. And the best example would be for Jaguar Land Rover. So till 2014, they used to produce all their cars in the UK, but eventually they did expand to other countries like China, Brazil, Austria, and Slovakia. And this was primarily due to two reasons. The first reason being that in countries like China, Brazil, Austria, and Slovakia, the wage rate is significantly lower in comparison to Britain. And the second reason being that placing their factories in these particular countries can help them avoid import costs. That's because a lot of the materials that are used for producing cars may be coming from these countries. So as opposed to importing all these goods directly to the UK, they themselves have moved their factory to these countries. So these two factors have significantly helped Jaguar Land Rover to keep their production costs low, and this is critical to stay competitive in the global market. All right, now let's look at the barriers to international trade. I mean, why would someone want to limit the amount of international trade? Or how would they do it? The first one would be tariffs. So tariffs are basically taxes that are imposed on imported goods. And an example could be China, who places a 25% of tariff on imported luxury cars. And that would mean that a Jaguar Evoque, which costs £40,000 in the UK, will cost £50,000 after the 25% import taxes has been added in China. Moreover, if there are sales tax and VATs, it would further increase the price of a Jaguar Evoque in China. And that could actually explain why Jaguar has actually opened a factory by themselves in China in 2015. Now let's look at what are the reasons for tariffs, or why would an economy or a country place tariffs. The first one being that they want to protect their domestic producers. So since imports will become more expensive, it will only make more sense, or it will be much easier for people to vouch towards purchasing domestic products. So it basically encourages people to buy more local. The second reason for imposing tariffs is that it increases their cost of living. So a lot of people are actually dependent on consumer products from foreign countries. And if these imports actually become much more pricey or more expensive, means that households' purchasing power actually goes down, and at the same time it actually reduces people's standard of living. And the third reason for imposing tariffs is that it hinders globalization, because since it encourages buying local, it means that the global trade growth is not really increasing. All right, now let's talk about trade blocks, which essentially acts as another barriers to international trade. So what is a trade block really? Trade block is basically when a group of companies come together and they form an agreement to freely trade with each other while imposing tariffs with other non-member countries. Let's look at some of the trading blocs and their key features. So one of the most famous one being the European Union, or the EU. And there are 27 member countries after Britain's withdrawal, and they are primarily led by Germany and France. So the main feature of the EU is that there is free movement of goods and labor within a single market, meaning that you can export goods, services, as well as labor can move from one EU member country to another EU member country without much restrictions. And they are subject to common EU-wide legislation. And another big, well-known trade bloc is the ASEAN, which is the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. And there are 10 member countries, including Vietnam and Thailand, but China is not a member of this trading bloc. And one of the key features of this EU, like others, is the free movement of goods. And the ASEAN, it was established in 1965 with originally only 5 member countries. And the member countries have experienced significant economic growth ever since. And then, of course, another trading bloc is the NAFTA, or the North American Free Trade Association. And the member countries are the United States, the Canada, and the Mexico. And the main feature includes free movement of goods among the member countries. And there are 2 economically advanced countries, which are the US and the Canada, and another developing member country, which is Mexico. All right, now let's take a look at how businesses compete internationally. So first of all, what they use is internet and the e-commerce. So for small businesses, because of e-commerce, or the use of e-commerce has helped small businesses to significantly expand their business operations globally without extensive setup processes. And at the same time, the internet or e-commerce allows small businesses to capitalize on trends or short-term fads like fashion or celebrity endorsements. And at the same time, internet and e-commerce is equally, if not more important for larger businesses, because what this helps them do is basically improve their operational efficiency as well as their market penetration. Basically, the internet and e-commerce actually provides dynamic business opportunities for large businesses, and it becomes a minimum requirement for success at this day and age. All right, now another way how a business maintains their competitiveness in the international market is basically by adopting their marketing mix. As we already know, the marketing mix involves the product, the price, promotion, and place. So when it comes to the product, if I had to give you an example, BMW's Mini needs adjustments for international markets such as left-hand drive and compliance with local safety and pollution regulations. And basically what this will do is basically it will increase per unit production costs, and it will also cause them to charge slightly higher prices to maintain the same level of profitability. Then when it comes to the products, the price also has to be adjusted since brand perceptions will actually vary from one region to another. The mini might command a higher price in markets where it's deemed to be more prestigious. And then we've got the promotion. Of course, your promotional strategies have to be tailored to the needs and wants of the local market, since there are cultural and social differences. And effective campaigns basically vary by region so that they can resonate better with the local values and culture. And then, of course, we've got the distribution or the place. E-commerce, actually, not all countries are as ready for e-commerce. So if you were to operate your business operations in countries like South America or Africa, what you'd have to do is basically make distribution channels more flexible, so that you need to put up strategies in place to make distribution channels more flexible so that it goes beyond e-commerce. All right, now here are some final thoughts on this chapter. So globalization is often looked down upon because a lot of people might look at it negatively, but at the same time, many businesses have actually thrived on the opportunities that globalization has to offer, and they've taken this opportunity to expand their products and services worldwide. And there are numerous success stories that comes along with it as well. One of the most important one or notable one being the success of Costa. So Costa Coffee is actually the second biggest coffee chain in China, and they have entered the Chinese market after Starbucks. And this goes on to show the potential that globalization offers for business growth and market penetration. And the impact that globalization has is basically, this was something that was considered to be unimaginable previously, but it goes on to highlight the transformative process that globalization can bring forward for businesses and in opening new markets for businesses essentially. And then of course you need to look at the opportunity and mobility that globalization has to offer, because since due to globalization, many skilled people are actually now able to move from one location to another. It has increased occupational mobility. So a doctor living in Tokyo today can go to New York eventually, and probably then to London, and also practice medicine in different countries. And what this allows them to do is basically gather multi or cross-cultural experience, which enriches them as individuals as well as contributes to the global knowledge exchange. So globalization is basically, it remains a double-edged sword where offers immense opportunities for particular businesses and professionals, while at the same time they face increased scrutiny and challenges from shifting global dynamics. Alright students, with that we have come towards the end of this video, and to give you a short recap of what we have covered so far, we have talked about the impact of globalization on businesses, which includes imports and exports. We have also talked about how there are barriers to international trade, such as tariffs and trade blocs. Furthermore, we have discussed on how businesses compete internationally by the use of internet and e-commerce, as well as changing the marketing mix to maintain competitiveness of a business. And students, of course, I'd like to thank you for watching this video. And if you've liked this video, do subscribe to our channel, because we post regularly on different topics and subjects that can help you ace your GCSEs. And of course, if you'd like to know more about our online one-on-one tutoring services, do visit our website at www.quickstudy.uk. Thank you.